Hello, everybody. Stacey Henley, editor-in-chief of the Gamer, and I'm joined by George Foster. We are going to be reviewing Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Now, I've played the whole thing solo. George has been playing it in co-op. George has more friends than I do, with one. I have zero. Um, what did you think of it, George? I got to be honest, was really looking forward to this, even as we found out more and more about the game and everyone started to get frightened of it. I was still really looking forward to it, and in the end, I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's an important place to start, is expectation. I remember when this was first announced, I thought it was a really cool idea. I know people have had their problems with the idea of it from the beginning, but I've always thought it's a pretty cool concept. I thought, Rocksteady hasn't delved into multiplayer stuff much, but that didn't bother me really. I was interested to see what they do. I've remained optimistic, as I usually am about it, until launch, and then less optimistic. But actually, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think I like it. I think I'm in the middle of it.
I feel nothing about most of it, which makes me just feel quite sad. I think that's what the word I used in my review. I really love not just superhero games in general, but Harley Quinn. I've really liked this version of Boomerang as well. Like, these are
Yes.
characters that I think could do so well, and I don't feel like they are. Before we dig into it properly, though, you mentioned there about expectation. I think there's two sides of this, because
Mhm.
I thought you were going to talk about the title, Killing the Suicide Squad. But obviously, the other part of that is it's a looter shooter, it's co op, it's going to have these live service trappings, it's
Mm.
the Elseworld events going forward. I'm surprised, if I'm honest, that the first part of that, the title itself, has been so negatively received. I feel like they telegraphed that pretty early.
Yeah,
We're going to be
literally from
killing.
reveal, right? Like,
Yeah, the killing of Batman. I think was a really bold move. I really like that part, but I do think it's built so much around killing the Justice League that there's not really a story to it. Like, the title is the story. Nothing
mhm.
much happens in the game besides killing the Justice League, and I think that's probably because of this live service co-op looter shooter element to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I haven't finished it yet. I'm about at the halfway point. So, but I know what happens because being a news editor, you kind of see everything that happens before it. You get to play it yourself, really. But I agree that, especially with the ending and how it kind of caps off, there's like a that feels very live service influenced. Like the way it ends.
Yeah, I mean, it ends with a whole like splash screen, like, join us for the next season.
Yeah, and that bit, seeing that, I'm like, ooh. But I like the concept a lot, and I've liked the Arkhamverse characters a lot. I think I understand why some people are upset, and especially Kevin Conroy passing. Really bad for this game. I think if he
I
if he
think
was
it,
still
it
around,
really adds some emotional weight to it.
yeah,
I'm kind of reluctant to touch on that too much, just because I think people on both sides have used it really disrespectfully.
100%.
Like, Kevin Conroy recorded this knowing Batman was, going to die. He wasn't
Mhm.
surprised when he got into the booth. He was aware that this was what was happening to the character. I think he does a great performance. I mean, he always has. He's been Batman well before the Arkham games. He's a big part of, for a lot of people, they don't really think of, Christian Bale or Michael Keaton. They will think of Kevin Conroy. So I
Always.
understand that people are sad that he's, passed on, but I think he gives a really good performance in this game, and I think the fact that the character dies, does nothing to his legacy. At the
I
same
agree.
time, I've kind of heard people go, "Oh, it's really disappointing that this is his last game. He didn't deserve this." And I just think the people who made this game knew Kevin Conroy probably fairly well. By
Yeah,
all accounts,
better
he was
than the
very
rest of us for sure.
basically, yeah. I mean, he's by all accounts, he was a very warm person. I mean, some of the voice cast have worked with them for a long time. There's a lot of Batman mainstays on the team. So I don't know. I mean, I don't like the game. I have finished it. Done our review for it. That'll be in the description below. So I've got my full thoughts on it and did not like it. But the Kevin Conroy thing, I don't like seeing people mention that as if that's a factor in any of this. The only thing for me is he's a voice actor. He does that job very, very well, and it's a real shame. Not because this game is bad that we won't see him again. It's a real shame because he was an excellent Batman and has been
Yeah,
for a very, very long time. It's obviously slightly different to Mark Hamill retiring as Joker because Mark Hamill's still alive, but that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. It's sad because he's a really big part of such an iconic character's legacy, and I
mhm.
don't think one game that doesn't quite meet expectations should change that.
I agree. No, I fully agree with what you said. I it obviously Kevin Conroy passing was awful. That did hit me hard because he is my Batman, but that hasn't influenced how I feel about this. Like it doesn't negate what happened in the Arkham games. It doesn't negate like how excellent they were in terms of story, in terms of how they portrayed Batman. Like I just feel like if you're really getting upset at the Justice League being killed, like read a comic, like expand your mind a bit. Like this is not new. Like that's the amazing thing about DC and Marvel and comics in general is that they can do stuff like this. There's so many things they can do, and from the start, I've been on board with it. I thought it's bold, it's brave. In execution, I don't know. So far, there's not really that much to it. I found like I'm sure you can say more on it, but
No, I can't. It doesn't really change. You get the same few missions over and over again. They
yeah,
they give them different names. Defend the point and collect the data and destroy the cannons. And they have a lot of different ways of saying, go to this place and kill these generic enemies in 2 or 3 waves, and then the battle's over. I mean, after Flash, you get the Flash-infused enemies where they kind of speed around, and you have to counter them quickly. After Green Lantern, you get the choppers, get the Green Lantern shielding on, so they become harder to take down. After
God,
Batman, the enemies become like Batman infused. They're basically like mini Bat. Obviously, they're easier to kill and not as much health, but they fight the way Batman does.
that's cool.
But that's kind of all that changes, and they're all this just generic purple goo style character. I've heard a lot of people compare it to Sunset Overdrive, and obviously Sunset Overdrive had a
Yes.
lot of those very generic characters. It's an energy drink spill, leaks with toxic waste. The characters become like mutant zombie things. So their enemy designs are quite similar to this in that they're just kind of vague, gross things. But there's so much else in Suicide and in Sunset Overdrive with regards to the array of weapons.
Yeah,
There's the vinyl disc shooter, there's the ball and ball shooter, there's the garden hose sprinkler that fires acid, there's the explosive teddy bears. There's so much thought. And I don't know if this happened to you, but when I did the first mission, I got a legendary pistol.
yeah.
And
I got a
was just
legendary
like,
sniper straight away.
okay,
Yeah.
that should be like the end. Like, it just doesn't mean anything. The next time you get like an epic one, and you think, is this better or worse? I don't really know. I don't really care.
Yeah,
And I know looter shooters do that. I know guns are less valuable in looter shooters because the point is like finding ways to upgrade them and the best loadout. That's part of the fun for a lot of people. And I am hesitant to say I wish it would have been this completely different game, because I could say that about a lot of things. I could come on next year and review Death Stranding 2 and say I wish it was like Dragon Age. That doesn't matter. It's not what it is. But I just feel like there's so much misused creativity in this game. There's like a million guns and they all mean nothing. I don't care about any of them. I don't feel like they change that much as you go through the game. Every single mission design has been done before.
yeah. That
And
is one of the biggest problems with it for sure. Like, I've played about 5 or 6 hours now, and I don't think I've done anything but missions where you have to put civilians in orbs and take them to a bus. Ones where you just have to use like a vehicle that you get for like 2 minutes and then kill a bunch of people and take down these like radio tower-esque things. Like it doesn't change. Which, you mentioned Sunset Overdrive, and that did come to mind a few times. I'm not really sure why Sunset Overdrive does come to mind, but
I think, the colours, the carnage, the traversal. We should probably talk about the traversal as well.
The traversal that's the thing that it's so not Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
Because Sunset Overdrive is like a masterclass of traversal. Like it is. But thinking about it just makes me want to play it right now because it just feels incredible. Suicide Squad. I don't know. Who are you maining? Who's your? I imagine Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah, I was Harley Quinn just because I like Harley the most, and obviously she swings from the drone, and I thought that'll be like Spider-Man. See, we're both big Spider-Man fans. Both really like the Spider-Man 2 that came out last year. Featured quite highly on both of our Game of the Year lists. But it's so slow and plodding. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of these sorts of games do, where there's always a need to give you a big upgrade. There's always a need to give you little upgrades. You think in a game like Batman or Spider-Man, you get one big chunky upgrade at a time, and you get noticeably better, but you earn that. In games like Suicide Squad, because you get a million updates a second, you have to start really bad.
Yeah,
like the swinging, it's I use Deadshot quite a bit as well. He has the jetpack, but it only has like enough dash to go like 20 meters, and then you've got to stop and slow down. Harley, you've got to dive to get the speed back up, but if you're too close to the floor, then when you dive, you'll just hit the floor, and then she'll complain. She can overshoot on buildings, but if you push the button too soon, she just jumps and stays where she is. So it punishes you for trying to engage with its mechanics. So I just think the traversal side of things for me, that's where I think there's probably someone out there, because we see this all the time with games like Elden Ring or Ghost of Tsushima. There's somebody who will master this. They'll be an expert at it. They will post a clip on Twitter or YouTube or wherever, and they'll say, look how great the traversal is in this game, and it will look brilliant. I am sure there's a version of this game where, because the character models are so good, because the writing is so good, I have to feel like everything could be so good. I think the traversal somehow, if you are an expert and you learn it intimately and you specifically upgrade it and you do all the stuff for it, probably would look quite good in motion. Pick a character, stick to them, learn how they work. I'm sure there's a version of it that's great. But with Spider-Man, with Sunset Overdrive, with so many other games, where traversal is like the main draw, you don't need to learn it for hours and hours and hours. You just pick it up and instantly it feels natural.
Yeah, because I've just stuck with Deadshot. I've mixed around with a few of the other characters, but in terms of like leveling one character up and coming to terms with them, it's been Deadshot for me. And the further in the game I get, I'm like, oh, the jetpack's alright. Actually, it's alright, but it still doesn't feel great. And those first few hours, I was like, oh my god. What it reminds me of, especially with Harley Quinn, is Spider-Man's movement in Marvel's Avengers. That swinging in that.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's bad. Boomerang is just too. I like his teleporting, but then you have the ability to use the Speed Force Gauntlet to like sprint, but it never works. I've tried a million times.
I don't
it's
know
awful.
Why. His should be the easiest. You just hold X and you run fast.
It never works. You just jump when you hit the ground. I hate it. King Shark is good because he's just Hulk. Like he's just PS2
He's just
Hulk.
Hulk who speaks like Drax.
Yeah.
the dynamic between the characters is great, but King Shark,
I think that's a standout for me.
Obviously, the other thing with the traversal is it's supposed to be so quick because the combat is so quick and frenetic. Now, I found everything to be quite spongy, a little bit too hectic, but I know you enjoyed the combat more than I did.
Yeah, I think that was, to be honest, that's the standout for me. Beyond character interactions, which I think are strong as well. I think the combat's really satisfying. I think the shooting feels great. There's a little bit of, you said hectic, and I would agree that it's a bit like a hat on a hat. At times there are mechanics upon mechanics, like the counter that you have to do, and then sometimes you have to break shields with melee. Sometimes that gets in the way of just how good shooting normally feels. But overall, like I was really impressed, considering this is Rocksteady's first venture into shooting. This, for me, I'm not the biggest looter shooter guy, like Destiny goes right over my head, but that is what has stuck me with it. I just love shooting stuff.
I will say the actual mechanics of the shooting, like the actual being in the battle, being in combat, having these battles with these aliens, that didn't annoy me anywhere near as much as the repetitive missions, so it wasn't something that actively put me off. My problem with it is you have the actual goal of the objective, which is always kill them and do something else with them, transport people or collect data shards or charge you a big cannon, whatever it is. Then you've got the contracts that you get from Hack, who wants you to do this many melee kills, do this many shield harvests, get this many kills with this weapon in this district. So you're also thinking of that. And then you've got the extra things for flair, like get 10 kills while sliding, or dive 3 times. But some of those are so dull. Like, when I was playing as Harley, I got the dive one quite often. I would just start the scenario, and then swing, dive, swing, dive, swing, dive, swing, dive. Okay, that's cleared. And then Boomerang would go, whoa, look at Harley go. And I'm like, okay. And then once you get further through, once you get past Superman, you get Raising Hell, which is just another version of those that are just more from Rick Flag and from Toyman, that are a bit more involved. And usually they go like do 60 of these things, or they're slightly more impressive than dive 4 times. So there's just always so many objectives to do. And I never really know the point of them. Like, specifically I do. You go to the Hall of Justice, you speak to Poison Ivy or Penguin or whoever, and you upgrade your stuff. But you get new stuff every 10 minutes.
You do.
I just don't care. I find it... Part of it is definitely the genre and the failure to engage. But I don't have that problem with, say, Borderlands. Borderlands kind of predates the modern looter shooter because it wasn't made for a battle pass or for seasonal events. It was, you grab a bunch of guns as you go through the game. But I don't know if it's because I know that I'm only doing this to generate Luther coins or some absolute rubbish. And I just can't find any motivation to do any of it.
Yeah, I haven't really... Yeah, when you mention the contracts, my mind completely spaced. I was like, oh yeah, that's the thing. I think I have really just approached it very... It's bad. In a critical sense, maybe this isn't the best way to approach it, but my brain has been turned off for most of the time I've been playing Suicide Squad. Like, I am just playing through it with a friend. We're just chatting about our day, chatting about what's going on.
A lot of people are going to play it that way.
Yeah, and as that kind of game... I
played it by myself.
As that kind of game... I have found value in it. I found value in a month where there's like 4 50-hour plus games that are just sat there waiting for me to start and make me want to cry. This 10-hour, mechanically satisfying, simple game has done something for me. I wouldn't, I know what you've given it as a score, and I don't disagree. Like, I've seen high scores for it, I've seen low scores. I think I can see both sides of it. I think I more see your side. I think there's so much weighing it down. So many things that I point out and say, oh, this is annoying. This is naff. Wish they'd do this, But I still can't stop playing it. Like, is that weird? Like, I still just want to finish it off. I still want to do everything.
There's games that I feel like that about, and that I would be kinder to if I had that reaction than this one. I just didn't. Part of it is, the review cycle is always difficult because you're trying to get through, trying to experience a lot of the game. I'm also, everyone knows everything leaked, so I'm also trying to get through and try and get some of those moments so I can, experience them live rather than see them filtered through what someone's known about on Twitter, because that does change your perception of it. You either get really defensive and you think a moment's great because you want to like the game, or a lot of people have said it's rubbish, and therefore when it hits you, you think it's rubbish. I've struggled with that with a few of the characters where sometimes I've agreed with the consensus that people seem to have, but sometimes I've disagreed, and that in both cases I've kind of, am I actually feeling that way, or am I disagreeing or agreeing with the people who are saying it because of the people who are saying it? So no, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people will find some solace in it as a game that you can just play, enjoy. The character banter is really funny, not just video game funny. I laughed at a couple of the bits, which is quite rare for me with the game. I've just been playing Like a Dragon, which is a really high bar to set, but there's not many games that make me laugh. I think a lot of it's very forced. a very, Josh Whedon style, you know, just dull
That just
writing.
happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, all that kind of stuff. There's none of that in Suicide Squad. It's all really, really personal to each character. They're not the Arkham characters. They're just not. But it's really personal to these characters are. But I just don't feel that way. I don't want to keep playing it. I didn't want to keep playing it when I was playing it. I think
Yep.
the biggest part of that for me was after you kill Superman, and it's hard not to talk about this without spoiling because I feel like everyone knows what happens. It's in the title, so
It's in the
I'm
titles.
gonna be more spoilery than I usually would with a review. After you kill Superman, you get a mission to go and kill Brainiac. That's the game. And I was like, right, I'm done. I've done a few side quests. I feel like I've experienced enough of the game. I'm ready to see how it ends, get me thoughts on what I do. And then it was like, oh, you can't challenge Brainiac yet. I was like, all right, I've got to level up. We've got to be a certain level.
No.
But you need to collect Brainiac coins. What the hell are Brainiac coins? So you've got to do more missions to earn 3,000 Brainiac coins. They don't call them that. They call them something else. But they're Brainiac coins. Never been in the game until this point. And it's just like teasing everything out of you. And then the solutions are so dull. Like, when you try to kill Flash, you can't. He's too fast. So someone shows up and goes, I've invented a Flash Kilometron. Nice, great, I'll use that. You kill him, can't kill Green Lantern. Someone else shows up and says, I've invented a Green Lantern Kilometron. Wonder Woman, you don't need to bother killing. She's just off doing her own thing. So you go, right, I need to go and kill Superman. And Lex Luthor says, if you find Batman, I can make you a Superman Kilometron. And what he makes you is kryptonite. I could have made that for you. There's nothing to the wider narrative of this game. It's just, your next job is to kill this impressive hero. Here is a thing that makes them thoroughly unimpressive.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Batman confrontation, not because of how it ended with Harley shooting him, but because of... It's just quite slow paced. I just didn't like it. But at least it was something. Batman is the only person who has something going on with their story. I don't know. What have you made of the heroes?
I haven't really... Like, Green Lantern's shown up for, like, 5 minutes to just spit in my face and then run away. I've really only seen Batman during the Batman Experience bit, which I thought was really cool. I thought that was a really nice twist where... actually, funny story, we both had a chance to play the closed beta for it. God, that must have been November, December?
Closed alpha, technically.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
We did.
And we weren't allowed to talk about it at the time, for whatever reason. And I remember I was playing with James Troughton, who also works at The Gamer, and we were playing together, and because I'd chosen Harley for that mission, and Harley's supposed to survive until the end for the cutscene, James was just being shifted between the other characters and dying at every chance they got. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is such a nice peek into, that's a very scripted section. That's a very unique part of the game I haven't really seen repeated so far yet. And that was a standout. I think
won't until he meets
even
Batman
now.
again.
Oh, fantastic.
That's the problem. There's none of the rest of it. Like, individual characters have more to say to each. Obviously, Flash, Boomerang have more of a connection. Green Lantern and Deadshot as well. So there's in dialogue and cutscenes and stuff, but in terms of the actual gameplay, they don't really have that variance. And I do wonder if the Batman Experience, which is what they call it in the game, was designed quite early when they were a bit more ambitious with the different styles of game, and it was kind of narrowed down into this more distilled, anyone can pick up and play, be any character, doesn't matter, change it as much as you like. I don't know. I do want to touch quickly on, I know you might not be up to this point, but I feel I should be making it considering all the debate around it. I mentioned before that I was unsure about how I felt about certain things and was kind of seeing it through a lens of, am I agreeing, am I disagreeing because of the people saying it? It really does feel odd that there's this big gamer outrage around Batman, and I'm saying, this is very silly. And then there's also this big gamer outrage about Wonder Woman, and I'm like, yes, I think I might agree with the gamers on this one.
Oh, well, I haven't heard this, actually. Like, Batman has been all over my feed forever, but what are they saying about Wonder Woman?
So Wonder Woman's not, she doesn't get brainiaced. She don't kill her at all. She's she's not immune, but she just avoids it. Not explained really. Um, she's very clearly got the plot armor that Batman would usually wear. So she's just
Right.
immune to it. That's fine. Don't ask any questions. She meets the heroes and, she doesn't, or the villains, I should say, I guess. She doesn't like them because the villains. She doesn't like Harley. She doesn't like Deadshot. Whatever. She goes away for a bit and you keep doing your own thing. Then she comes back and they're just suddenly very, like, respectful of, like, oh, this brave warrior woman. And I just don't know why there's this aura around her when she's so boring. So it's quite hard, I think. I know she's not Superman, she's Wonder Woman, but I think it's quite hard to do a good Superman story. It's easy to do evil Superman. That's why we have this, why we have The Boys, Invincible, Injustice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite easy because you take this character who's known as this, paragon of goodness, who's much stronger than everybody. That's Superman's whole thing. And he uses that against you. That's obviously a big, impressive threat. A Superman who, gets cats out of trees is narratively dull. You have to really work to create a character that has enough nuance and who is heartfelt enough and who is prepared to be a bit dull, but for it to matter. Captain America, I think, in the MCU does that really well. He's a very dull, clean-cut fella, but you root for him through everything because there's something about the way he's written, these dynamics. He's not perfect, he's just good. He's a good-hearted man. And I think Wonder Woman falls into this trap of just, she is a good person, and that is the end of the sentence. We know nothing else about her, and everything that happens to her in the game just feels so false because of that, because it's not a real character moment. It's just this perfect ideal of a character who has nothing wrong with them, who makes no mistakes. And the character bios are all written by the squad, apart from Wonder Woman's, who's written by Lex Luthor, and it's very complimentary. Now, you actually unlock the ones that Lex writes for the other characters, so it does make more sense that narratively the heroes kind of have to fill in the information on these heroes, that they're villains. Heroes and villains are too complicated. People like Boomerang have to write about Flash, you know what I mean? They don't need a Wonder Woman because they're not fighting her. But they give you the Lex one for free. So when you start the game, you basically get Boomerang going, Flash, he stinks,
Dickhead.
and I bet he's got a small willy. And then it's Wonder Woman, and there's like 3 paragraphs on how she's this mighty soldier. And over time, you earn it for the rest of them. Like, Superman gets one, and the end Green Lantern gets one. But I find myself thinking, this is usually the sort of thing I'd be all over, gamers saying this woman's bad. And I'm watching, I think she might actually just be bad. This might actually just be a really bad character. In a game where the characters are so well written, everything Wonder Woman did was just mind-numbing.
Right, yeah, because I've seen her twice now. I saw her, like, the most recent time she's chucked me in, like, a container and then threw me away into the Daily Planet. And I haven't really felt anything about her. As a fan of DC in general, I've gone, Wonder Woman. And I think there's a lot of that with the heroes, is that it relies so much on you knowing them already and caring about them. Like, even Flash, I feel like there's just he's one of the more interesting characters I've come up against so far, but they still don't go into anything that makes him tick. It's just evil Flash.
It is, the characters are all just evil, whatever.
Yeah. And I still find that interesting, but it's like, Wonder Woman isn't evil Wonder Woman. She's Wonder Woman, but from what you're saying, it sounds like barely. Like, she's just.
I just don't feel it. Like, with Flash, Flash is very cocky and vibrant. I feel like it's tropey, but I feel like there's a personality there. Green Lantern is very, very interested in punitive justice. That's they're clearly like making this big thing about him being military and by the book. When you turn that evil, you get this guy who's really desperate to inflict a form of punishment. Batman, obviously, incredibly arrogant, quite cynical. So you have these traits that we know these characters have, things that they often have to fight against. Batman has to fight against. He saves the world, and yet he kind of hates the world. Green Lantern has to hold himself back from wanting to destroy things. He has to try and build things and instill hope. That's Green Lantern's whole thing, this hope over fear. So it takes the inner conflicts that they usually have, and the dark side wins basically. But with Wonder Woman, I just don't feel any. I don't feel like the good side has won. I feel like there's just no dark side.
Yeah. Do you think it would be better if they had Brainiac Wonder Woman? That sounds weird. You know what I mean?
I think it makes sense for them to not, because I think if you want a hero on your side, Wonder Woman makes the most sense. Because Batman, we had him in Arkham. I think it's very bold to kill him off. Can't be Superman because he's the big baddie at the end. You can't
Yeah,
have
of
the
course.
hardest one on your team. And the Flash and Green Lantern are just a little bit too small time. It needs to be one of the big three. So I think of all of them, it makes sense to be Wonder Woman. I feel like this would make sense if there was a story besides killing the Justice League. I know that's in the game. I know it's in the name, but there has to be some kind of plot in between. What happens. There has to be something that keeps us going between killing the characters, and there's not. It's just kind of, he has 5 characters. Go and kill them in order of how strong they are.
Yeah. I have to say, you seem genuinely, I know you hate that word, frustrated by Suicide Squad. In a way I haven't seen you be of the game in a while. It seems like, and this is sort of how I feel, there are times where there's greatness shining through. I'm like, wow, like, I love this combat. I think these characters are just so much fun to be around and to listen to. But then I'm standing around 5 minutes waiting for enemies to respawn at the same mission I've done 8 times, but this time I have to do some slide kills, and I'm like, ugh. Like, in a perfect world, you can't. I don't think you should judge a game based on what you want it to be.
No, I agree.
Like, I'd love to be like, ooh, if this was a single player game, it'd be great. Yeah, probably, but that's not what we've got. What we've got is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and yeah, I'm. I don't know. I've not finished it yet. Maybe by the end of the repetition, and maybe after seeing what happens with Wonder Woman and all that, maybe I'll be less positive about it. Right now, I am fine with it. I'm very fine. I'm like, yeah, good enough time, but I can definitely see what you mean.
I mean, the thing is, I don't really go in for the whole, the devs worked really hard. Not because I don't think they did, but because I think all devs do. And I think there's only some games get that. I don't feel like a lot of people were saying that about Gollum. And this is better than Gollum.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I played Gollum. This is a better game. But I don't feel like people said that about... I don't feel it was said about Forspoken. Forspoken was just, it's fun to laugh at. Haha, the cuff talk. I didn't like that either. I liked that less than Suicide Squad. But there definitely are some games that just kind of get this reputation, usually because of the studio's history, which is what happened with Redfall as well, where we kind of go... I don't want to say bad things about it because the devs obviously worked hard on it. But, so, I don't think I'm feeling that, which I've seen a lot of people think. I think I just wanted this to be... I wanted this to be better than it is. And, these are characters that I've read the stories of and watched the movies of and played the video games of for a very long time. It is easy as a journalist sometimes to just kind of close yourself up and just do... This game is this number, this game is that number, etc., etc. But these characters do mean quite a lot to me, and I don't mind that they've been killed off. I'm not upset that there's something bad happened to them in the narrative. I'm upset that a studio that I really admire, that's given me a lot of great experiences over the years, has spent nearly a decade making a game that I don't think people want. I don't think someone sat down and said we should make a looter shooter based on the Arkhamverse. I think somebody who knows that that's an idea that could make a profit told them to do that. And it's frustrating that we deal with this outcome that has a lot of really positive things about it. Well, not necessarily the combat family, but certainly the character writing, the aesthetics of it. Some of the shots are brilliant. The
stunning.
technical, the facial animation. There's a lot of good things in this game, but it's let down by the fact that it's not fully there, and if it's not fully there after a decade, I just don't think it was ever going to be.
I think actually I can't believe that's something I haven't mentioned because I was literally saying it last night. I think my biggest problem is how long it's been in development. Like, obviously games take a Herculean amount of work, they take a lot of time. They weren't just going to pump this out in 3 years, but 9 years I think it's been in development, right? Like, or maybe it's just 9 years.
9 years since
Arkham Knight.
since Arkham Knight. I don't know how long they've been doing it. But,
and that is like, for this to be what we see from them after 9 years, after one of the best trilogies of game. Well, Arkham Knight not so much. Two incredible games and one game that's less good. Like it's sad. It's
You can
what
see
you
the
said.
effort
It's
in
sad.
there. It's just, it is sad. It's you can see that you can see they spent 9 years in it because it looks good and plays competently. But nah.
Yeah.
Right. I think I'm just going to disappear down deeper and deeper rabbit holes that make sense to fewer and fewer people. So, my review will be down in the description below. It was a 2.5 stars, unfortunately. Just not quite there. Loved the Green Lantern boss battle, which didn't really talk about too much. Loved the character writing. Didn't really like anything else about it. So 2.5 out of 5 it is. George, any closing remarks?
No, I think I've still got some time to go. If you're a huge DC fan, but not so huge that you're gonna get upset seeing characters die, then maybe it might be for you if you get some friends together and you're not, looking at it too critically. I guess it can be a fun enough time, but I'm using a lot of fun enough, but I'm using a lot of I can't even think of the word, but
Qualifiers.
qualifiers. I'm using a lot of qualifiers, and maybe that says a lot more than it should. But I will probably return for the Joker. I'm really curious what they're going to do with him, and I think he looks cool to play as. But beyond that, I don't know. I doubt it.
I'm less sure of that, but I am sure that we will return because we will do a full spoiler cast. We spoiled a lot today, but we'll have more people who finished it, a bigger discussion of some of the future stuff for the game. That'll be coming up in a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on how long it takes everybody to get through it. Right, that's it for this video. You can find my full review linked in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can visit us at thegamer.com. That's thegamer, no spaces.